Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of the Gaggle, Peter Lavelle, host also RT's talk show Crosstalk. Well, Peter, yesterday, the case of Julian Assange took a very unpleasant turn, as if one could get even, even that means anything. It was like an OTO's comment. As if the audience remembers, the judge presiding over the case, Judge Baretsa, had ruled in January, pretty much found on behalf of the U.S. government and in all the particulars, the charges that they made against Assange, but she rejected their extradition request because she didn't think that the prison conditions in the United States were, to say the least, very conducive to the mental health of somebody like Julian Assange, and that she had diagnosis in front of her that suggested that Assange was prone to suicide. The United States, as expected, appealed that decision, and so last month the court ruled that they can appeal on the issues of the prison conditions and whether Judge Baretsa should have sought out other opinions on the conditions on the U.S. prisons. But the ruling said that the U.S. government could not appeal on the issue of Julian Assange's mental health. But what happened yesterday was that the justice of the High Court said that, yes, the US government can appeal on the ground of mental health because Judge Baretsa had relied excessively on Professor Michael Kopelman, who was the one he's a neuropsychiatrist, a professor emeritus at King's College, very distinguished, and he had published or he had actually written 2 reports on Assange's condition for Baretsa, and he explicitly said that he thought that Assange was somebody who is a serious suicide risk. And Baretsa then said, okay, well, she relied on Kopelman's finding that if you extradite Assange, there's a real risk that he might commit suicide. Now, the US government challenged this. And they had already challenged this some time ago, because they challenged before even Baretsa's ruling in January, because in her ruling in January, she explicitly addressed the US objections to Kopelman's finding, because what the United States had said was that Kopelman had misled the court because he hadn't disclosed his knowledge that Julian Assange had a partner, Stella Morris, and that he had fathered 2 children by her while he was essentially in captivity in the Ecuador embassy. And this supposedly was, they thought had misled the court, as if married men do not commit suicide, as if men who have 2 small children or more small children don't commit suicide. No, it said, no. They had misled the court, and therefore the finding that he's suicidal was without merit. But the point is that the US has already complained, had made this complaint about Kopelman before Baretsa's ruling. And if you go back, we're just reading now from Baretsa's ruling from January, and she says that the US strongly suggested that Professor Kopelman had failed in his duty to be impartial by deliberately concealing information that he had been told about Mr. Assange's partner, Stella Morris, and their children. And then that this is somehow very, very significant. But the point is that Baretsa addressed this particular issue, and I'll read out what she actually said back then in January. And she says, I do not accept that Professor Kopelman failed in his duty to the court when he did not disclose Ms. Morris's relationship with Mr. Assange. And she said that because as I said, that he wrote 2 reports. In his first report in December 2019, yes, he didn't disclose his knowledge about the relationship, but in his second report, which was in August 2020, by which time it had become public knowledge about this relationship, he had disclosed this. So in his second report, the August 2020 report, Kopelman did disclose this. But the point is that she's saying that, and Baretza, yes, said that, yes, indeed, he was misleading the court. However, there was a reason for it. And as he explained that her relationship with Mr. Assange was not yet in the public domain, and that she was very concerned about her privacy. And then he said that after their relationship became public, he had disclosed it in his August 2020 report. In other words, his stance was that to disclose this could endanger Stella Morris's life and could endanger the life of the 2 small children. That was his rationale. He wasn't trying to conceal anything from the court. I mean, he was just trying to protect this young woman. But in any case, the judge, this Justice Holroyd, said, well, no, this looks to me that he was concealing things and was trying to deceive the court. And so therefore, he essentially allowed the United States now to appeal on this additional ground that, no, Julian Assange, we can't say that he is suicidal. So this was quite an extraordinary, because it's now, an appeal in which a factual matter is being brought up, because it's usually a matter just of the law and interpretation of the law. You don't actually bring in a factual matter, but that's what this justice said yesterday. So the hearing is set for late October, and given the attitude of the High Court, I have to say, it's not looking too good for Julian Assange. All right, Peter, what's your take?
They want him to rot in prison and die. Let's be honest, everybody. That's what they're doing here. Okay. About his marital status and his family status here, I cannot see in any way, shape, or form that the court was being deceived. That this was an omission, and an omission and a deception are not the same thing at all. And I mean, I'm sorry, this is so trivial, okay?
I think so.
I mean, here's a man's life at stake. He's a journalist.
Right.
Okay, he is there because he exposed the lies of power. He exposed war crimes. Right. And these people are getting into the minutia about, well, you didn't mention that he was married. My goodness, where's the sense of proportion here?
Right.
It's really, and it also shows is that how empire will be unrelenting. That's, I bet those lawyers, let's go through all the files again. Find something. You're not going home until you find something. Okay. Right. And then it's like 4 o'clock and I think we got something here. That's how I read this whole thing.
Well, I think so. But what's so striking to me is that the judge was aware of this very issue. In other words, I mean, she had already ruled and said, I do not believe that he was being deceitful. I mean, it said that, he didn't disclose this in his first report because it wasn't in the public domain, this information about Stella Morris. He did disclose it in the second report, and the Americans had already raised their objections, and she had, basically answered their objection. So here, this justice was doing what an appellate court is not supposed to do. They're not supposed to second guess judges' decisions. So what the issue is, when an appeal is whether did she misinterpret the law? Did she misunderstand the law? It's not about whether she was second guessing her as to the weight she gave to the individual piece of evidence. That's within the sphere of a courtroom judge.
Okay, or George, the simple answer is she got a second chance to give the right decision. I mean, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry, that's how it looks to me. So, as we say in everyday parlance, somebody got to her, okay? I'm sorry, that's the conclusion I draw. I'm not making any accusations here, but that is the conclusion that I draw on something so trivial. There was public information in a second report that she was aware of, and then we have this sea change. Again, they looked for something, anything that they could sink their teeth into, and to try to shake the tree again until they got the right answer. That's what it looks like to me. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm no lawyer.
Yeah.
However, I would say, George, you missed your calling as a lawyer, because your opening statement was like a lawyer speaking to the jury. Good job.
Thank you very much. But I say why I'm pessimistic is that this was a ruling by the very judges who are now going to be sitting in judgment on the US appeal. Yes. So given that, is already this judge has shown where he's coming from, I think, he's likely to be very sympathetic to the Americans' argument. And the argument is just so stupid, because, the whole idea, oh, well, he had a partner and he had 2 small children, therefore he can't possibly be suicidal. What kind of a stupid thing to say? Oh, no one who has small children has committed suicide.
I don't think there's much to do one with the other, okay, at all. Okay, I mean, okay, you and I, we're not sitting in front of statistics here, but we've lived life, okay? And unfortunately, suicide has been around in right. my life, even in my own family, right. Okay? Married people and single people, it's their marital status is not the origins of their fateful decisions, and that's it's my life experience, okay? I think it's rubbish.
Absolute rubbish. Absolute rubbish. I mean, it's like, exactly. You can go through statistics, suicides, and you will find plenty of people who had small children and seem to had a happy marriages who committed suicide. I mean, it's a serious mental condition. People who are suicidal and who are seriously contemplating suicide. Not something. Well, I've got a couple of small children, so I've got something to live for. That's not
the way it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a ridiculous thing, and for this justice to weigh in like this, and I mean, already the Americans had this other, they'd already been granted this other grounds of appeal, which is about the prison conditions. That, oh well, she was exaggerating how bad the prison conditions. I don't know how you can exaggerate the conditions, in particularly the supermax prisons in the United States. Those are pretty grim. And for a man who's I mean, it's like, you're punishing person for essentially, he has a mental toughness. In other words, you're like, whoa, he's got mental toughness. Therefore, let's throw him into a supermax prison because he's not going to commit suicide, which is what it is. It's like, oh no, he's a tough guy. He's got mentally tough, so we can put him in a supermax prison safely because he won't commit suicide. I mean, that's what the logic of this argument is.
Why doesn't he just have an ankle bracelet staying at a Holiday Inn? I mean, I'm sorry. I am very adamant in what I believe here. They want to run the clock out on this man's life by destroying his health. I'm sorry. It's patently obvious to me.
Right. I think so. I mean, he is obviously an extraordinary individual. I mean, he lived in that Ecuador embassy. It's a small embassy. It's not like a big, U.S. embassy. It's a small embassy for 7 years. Now he's been living in this essentially British supermax prison, Belmarsh, for getting on for 2.5 years. And again, that without being convicted of anything other than a trivial process crime of skipping bail. He's still there, still in this horrible prison. I mean, even the minimum they don't for you, just put him into a more humane prison, a low security prison. No, they keep him there along with all the child killers and the rapists and the kidnappers and the terrorists. They keep him there. These are the people that you deserve to be among. And incidentally, this comes at a time, because yesterday, Peter, you may not have noticed that the Biden administration announced the date for the Democracy Summit. I think your invitation is in the mail. So the Democracy Summit, I think it's going to be a virtual one. The first one will be virtual, December the 9th and the 10th, in which there's going to be a big powwow of the democracies to talk about the importance of democracy, presided over by Biden. So imagine our friend Boris Johnson is going to take part, and Emmanuel Macron and the rest of them. So this is at the same time, you know, when the US government is saying, no, he's not really suicidal. Let's bring him over here into Supermax business. So this is what our democracies are about. You know, they go around boasting about all their great virtues, but this is the reality of what they're doing.
So when there's the Democracy Summit, the virtual one, how many of the January 6th people that were arrested will they still be in prison without trial?
Many of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Democracy, you guys, it's just a brand that power hides behind. Okay, to get, as a matter of fact, they talk about democracy so they can do lawless things. They do it all the time in the name of democracy. Right. We have to, you know, they invade. You know, we have to bring democracy to the Middle East. What did they do? They destroyed the Middle East. Okay,
that's right.
Okay, you know, change the election laws in the United States for more democracy. Well, half the country doesn't believe in the electoral process now. Right. This is what power does.
That's right.
It's not about democracy. It's about the preservation of their power. And they use one of the most important things to all of us, democracy, and they've trashed it in the process.
Absolutely. And what they do essentially, democracy now is just become this propaganda operation by which you, first of all, you target the countries that you want to target. The reason why you have a democracy summit is to say, hey, look at Russia. Russia doesn't belong here. They have no business being in the democracy summit. China has no business being here. But and they'll of course say this, Orban has no business being here. It's we virtuous people are here enjoying our virtuous friendship and our virtuous camaraderie. This is where we belong. Yeah.
And well, Egypt will be there, Saudi Arabia will be there, Turkey will be there, okay? Guess what?
Right. And then you have these creatures like Dominic Raab, who talk about media freedom. Where we in the United Kingdom, we care about media freedom. You, Russia, don't care about media freedom. We are sensitive. You know, we believe in these kinds of things. You don't. You have a different tradition. You're kind of more barbaric, shall we say. You don't understand press freedom. We have press freedom. I mean, can you imagine Russia dealing with a journalist in the way that Britain has dealt with Julian Assange? Had the United States. I mean, it's all just absolutely always swept under the rug. I mean, I look at the New York Times today. There's nothing there about yesterday's hearing of Julian Assange.
It's only in alternative media.
Right.
Only in alternative media. Okay, we're going to obviously keep an eye on this, but unfortunately, because George and I did immediately after the January decision, we did a video. I think we did a couple of videos on it. Go back and look. We predicted exactly this. Okay, we predicted this here. I hope Julian Assange will make it to December so we can show the glaring hypocrisy here. But the thing is, he's a journalist. He did the right thing. And they're punishing him because they never want another Julian Assange ever raise his or her head ever again, because power doesn't take it lightly.
And remember, all of his other cases, all of the other charges against him, that he was involved in hacking, all that has disappeared with this. I'm not going to try and pronounce that guy's name. The
Icelandic guy. Yeah.
The Icelandic guys, you know, that pederast or pedophile and, you know, all crook, thief, you know, liar, who just made it all up. He admitted he just made all that up, that Julian Assange was telling him to start hacking into things. So those charges, worthless.
There's no foundation for this case to exist any longer. It has been gutted. It doesn't. It's like a castle floating in the sky, everybody. There's no foundation. There's no predicate for it. This is imperial empire theater. There's nothing more than that.
That's exactly.
All right, we'll keep an eye on here. All right, everybody, we're on Locals. So please go to thegaggle.locals.com. We are doing Zoom interviews with gagglers with a lot of fun. George and I have started up the tradition of doing Q&As. We've already got 2 out there. Hopefully we'll do one tomorrow. George has already done the live stream, and we're planning to do a super chat on YouTube. Yes, they let us back on.
Yes, let us back on. So, you know, looking forward to that. Just got to arrange the right time to do it, and we're going to be there. And we must make a mention of your little friend's tip jar.
Are you anticipating tip jar, or are you going to sit with?
Yes, he's
okay.
he's obviously just
So he's kind of disillusioned with the tip jar.
disillusioned and depressed. When there's nothing in the tip jar, he just sinks into a lethargy and despondency. But yeah, in all seriousness, anything you can help us, any tips that you can offer would be most appreciated. We value your support and your generosity, and we don't have great billionaires underwriting us, so we rely on the kindness of strangers, our fellow gagglers. So please, whatever you can do will be most appreciated. Look at that. How can anyone deny him anything? But remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.